Hey, welcome back to Delectable You Recipes for Food and for Life. Today we are making vegan gluten-free donuts. Now, this recipe is very special because it is the first recipe that I ever made in the vegan gluten-free cooking world, baking I should say. I'm a culinary school trained French pastry chef, so I was all about pain au chocolat and meringues and all of that stuff. And I was eating a lot of that stuff in culinary school, and I gained weight naturally, but I also started getting really moody and my health was off and I just didn't feel very good. So when I got out of pastry school, I decided I was going to start to dabble in vegan gluten-free baking. Now, this is still filled with sugar, but it was the recipe that bridged the gap between my culinary school education and what I'm doing now, which is more vegan, gluten-free, raw, healthier baking. Why am I showing you this recipe? Because it's special. It gained quite the reputation among all of our people here in Malibu. My husband and I own a yoga studio, and I used to sell them, and they became quite legendary. And I was hired many years ago to bake cakes for a party that Barbara Streisand was hosting. Yes, I did say Barbara Streisand. And when I was in her kitchen, putting the finishing touches on the cakes, I heard her voice down the hall. And I said to my sous chef and my husband who were there, oh my God, I think Barbara Streisand is coming down the hall. And sure enough, 2 seconds later, she walks through the kitchen doors. And she comes right up to me and she said, so I heard about these donuts. And I don't know why I had some, but I had made a whole batch because I wanted to go above and beyond, I guess, and put some donuts out on the table for the party in addition to the cakes that I was hired to do. So I took the platter of donuts and I just handed them to her, and she took a bite and she said, not bad. And then she walked out of the kitchen, and that was it. So these donuts are not only legendary in Malibu, apparently Barbara Streisand thinks they're not bad, and they are not my recipe. They're from Babycakes NYC. So there's just all sorts of goodness all over this recipe. So let me show you what to do. Okay, so you're gonna grab yourself a bowl. We're not gonna use a mixer. We're just gonna use a regular old-fashioned bowl. First thing you wanna do is get yourself some sugar. Now you can use vegan sugar if you want to. This isn't vegan sugar, this is just regular sugar, and we're adding a cup of sugar to the bowl. All right, next we are going to use, here's my white rice flour. White or brown rice flour. You can find this at most grocery stores now, and we're gonna use 3/4 of a cup. All right, next, let me grab my 1/3 of a cup because we need 1/3 of a cup of garbanzo and fava bean flour. Next, we have 1/2 cup of potato starch. Now we got 1/4 cup of arrowroot. 1½ teaspoons, where's my teaspoon? Here it is, of baking powder. 1½ Okay, next 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum. This is a staple in vegan and gluten-free baking because it really helps to bind everything together. Now, of course, we need to invite salt to the party because salt brings out the dominant flavor. Do not do what I was just about to do. Don't put your salt into your measuring utensil over the bowl, because if you accidentally put too much, then you now have a salty baking product, and we don't want that. 1/2 teaspoon, there we go. All right, next we want 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. Yes, just a little 1/8. If you put too much baking soda, things can taste a little soapy. Okay, that's it for the dry ingredients. So just grab yourself a whisk, and you're just gonna whisk all of these ingredients together. Now, I like to use my hand with the whisk because sometimes there are lumps that the whisk can't get, and I don't want lumps because they don't really sort themselves out in the baking process. Okay. Now we're gonna add our wet ingredients to the party. So we've got 1/3 of a cup of coconut oil. It's melted down. Whenever you're baking with coconut oil, you melt it down first, okay? So you've got 1/3 of a cup of this coconut oil. Now I've got some applesauce, and we need 6 tablespoons of applesauce. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if you don't have applesauce, you don't like applesauce, okay, use banana, use pumpkin puree, use whatever else you want. All right, now we're gonna get a lot of flavor from vanilla, so we actually need 1/4 of a cup of vanilla. Final ingredient, hot water. We've got 1/2 a cup of hot water. It doesn't have to be boiling. This is just very hot water from the tap. Okay, we've got everything. Now I don't want to use the whisk because it's just going to get stuck in the little spindles here, so I'm going to use a spatula. Now, the thing about vegan and gluten-free baking in this capacity is that the batter doesn't really smell very good and it doesn't really taste very good. The final product ends up being delicious, but not the batter. That's one of the biggest differences I have found between traditional baking with butter and sugar and flour and eggs and this kind of vegan gluten-free baking. Okay, now just run your spatula along to get out as many lumps as you can, because those lumps are just trapped dried ingredients that you'll bite into in the final product if you don't get the lumps out. Okay, so that's pretty good. Another great thing about vegan gluten-free baking is you cannot overmix. In traditional baking, if you overmix, you end up with flat muffins or flat cookies. That doesn't happen in vegan gluten-free baking. Okay, so let's put this aside. Now, I've got my donut. Wow, I do not have a lot of space here, do I? So I've got these donut pans. Super easy, I just ordered them from Amazon. You can get them anywhere. And I've already prepared them. They're non-stick, but I like to have double protection. So I took a brush and I put some coconut oil into all of the donut pans. And now all you're gonna do, I might wanna use a spoon for this, it'll be easier, is spoon out your mixture into each. Now this can be a little bit painstaking because these are mini. You don't have to use mini donut pans. I just like the mini ones. And just fill them up until they're almost to the top, so we have these nice fluffy, puffy donuts in the end. All right, I've got 24, actually I've got 24 plus 3 because I had extra batter, mini donuts that are going in the oven. So the oven is preheated to 325 Fahrenheit. We're gonna put these in for 8 minutes, and then we're going to turn them around and we're going to put them in for another 7 minutes or until they're nice and cooked through. I put this on top of a pan, these pans on top of a pan. It just makes it a heck of a lot easier to turn the pan in the oven and handle it in general. So just a little user tip. All right, here we go. I smell something baking in the oven. I think our donuts are ready. Oh, yes, they are, but I need 2 mitts. These are our lonely 3. And yeah. There we go. There are our donuts. Show this off. So, I may have overfilled these a little bit, but that's okay because the people who eat them will love me because they'll be nice and giant. So very carefully, what I like to do, and you can wait until, you know, a few minutes after they've come out of the oven, but I like to take my finger, clean of course, and just kind of push the sides so that they don't stick to the pan, because I know it's coconut oiled and it's non-stick and blah blah blah, but they always tend to stick anyway. So that's what I like to do. All right, so My finger's slightly burned. Just kidding, it's not. Normally I would wait about 5 minutes before I smack these out of the pan, and I do mean smack. I'm going to show you what I mean. Because at this point you can eat them like this. They're wonderful like this, but what I like to do is I like to coat them in cinnamon sugar. If you're going to coat them in something, cinnamon sugar or whatever it is that you do want them to still be warm and slightly hot when you take them out of the pan, so that whatever you're sticking to them adheres to them. If you're just going to drizzle them with white chocolate or dark chocolate or whatever, then you don't have to do that. So let's smack these bad boys out. Basically just going to go on a clean counter and just go like this. See how they fall out? Ooh, and they're still smoking. Okay, 2 more. There we go. Now I'm going to take this, drop it in here, my cinnamon sugar mixture. There we go. Put it on the plate. And I'm just going to keep doing this for all of my donuts. And that's it. That's how you make these vegan, gluten-free, mostly Babs approved, definitely Malibu legendary vegan gluten-free donuts. I hope that you enjoy them sparingly, of course, because they're still filled with sugar, but that you still enjoy them nonetheless. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been Lauren with Delectable You, and I will see you again next time.